Welcome to Business Insight Fredericton. I'm Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. Today's episode is about second-generation businesses, and we're going to kick off the show with a conversation with Chelsea Davis. She and her brother are the owners of Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. Generally, how many cars do you keep on the lot?
In general, in the summer months, we usually keep a little over 100, about 120. So we're a used car dealer first, but we like to call them used. We're new used cars. 80% of our inventory is usually within 2 model years of the current year. And we got into power sports about 3 to 4 years ago with Kawasaki, Vespa scooters, and Pedigo electric bikes.
I'd be interested to learn more about how the business even got started.
So it would have been over 40 years ago. Jim and his brother-in-law had a little used car dealer out in Durham with a gas station. And then in 1979, around that time when we were younger, he wanted to move us into town. So we brought the whole dealership in town. And from there, it just has grown from a little, I think like a 20 by 20 building to what we have now.
Tell me about the whole Huggables.
The Huggable thing would have been created, it would have been about 14, 15 years ago. My dad and one of his marketing friends came up with the idea, and he said, well, like, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? He goes, I just want to be Huggable. I want everyone to love me. So they came up with the marketing plan to be Canada's Huggable car dealer. When he brought it home to Donna, my mom, she said, fantastic, but if you're going to market it, then you got to be it. And that started the actually giving of physical hugs. And we say like a hug isn't necessarily the hug physical, so COVID really didn't affect it. It's the offering of the coffee when you come into the business. It's going into clean bathrooms.
So Huggable is really about an attitude.
And that's our team when we hire. It's one of the huge things of our hiring thing is happy, huggable, helpful.
Tell me a bit of your background, Chelsea. What have you done before this, or is this all you've done? And how long have you been with the business?
My brother and I both started with the business when we were about 13 or 12 or 13, mowing of the yard, just those types of things. So we'd always grown up around it. I went to university to get my business degree. I had a small off-road company coming out of university that I did within the company. And then a little over 10 years ago was the decision, do I want to do that or run Wheels and Deals? And I did take on the position of running Wheels and Deals. My brother and I both are part of the company, and we both have specialties that we're great at.
So today we are talking to family businesses that have transitioned to the next generation. I'm really interested to know, do you buy the business? Do you take it over? How does that work for you?
We capped it and are taking it over within buying it from profits from the dealership. So we are 25% owners, my brother and I, and we're still paying my parents' as we go, and they're still going to remain 50% owners.
We can have this all ready for pickup on Saturday.
So 40,000 square feet, basically a number of businesses within a business.
Yep.
How many employees does it take to make that happen?
We currently have 31 employees on staff.
And has that changed during COVID?
For the first little bit, we did go down to part-time, to full-time, but we actually, even through COVID, we sent everyone home for 1 week and paid the wages. And everyone came back the following week, and everyone stayed with a full paycheck through all of COVID.
Chelsea, tell me, how do you get your message out? Do you use social media, or what's your favorite way of getting your message out?
I think anyone who knows Canada's Huggable car dealer, social media is huge and has been huge. That's actually where Jim excels and kind of where his position has gone. So Jim and Donna, my mother, they're the ones kind of taking over the social media marketing.
Do you ever use ambassadors or local celebrities to promote your product?
We don't really do much with local celebrities. We do, every customer that purchases from here, we take their picture and we put it on social media.
Okay, Louise, you ready?
Yeah.
Smile big.
They're the celebrity of that day.
Tell me about the consideration that you give to your competition.
We're friends with a lot of them. So it's, it's friendly competition in the most part, but keeping an eye, is there something we're missing the ball on? What's going on for marketing? We do keep our eye on that.
So this business has been around for a long time, since the 70s.
Yes.
What do you attribute your longevity to?
My dad and my mother, they grew it. He wanted to be the change of used car dealers. We try to live Canada's Huggable car dealer.
Some people say family business is tough. What do you think?
But I think the way you're brought into it, I think the way the transition happens, and I think your family before it has a huge effect. We're a very tight-knit family.
As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what is it that you find the most challenging?
Well, there's a difference between pre-COVID and now. Pre-COVID, I think just the general, you're always wanting to make customers happy, provide that customer service. And that's one thing I always worry about, did something not happen where a customer isn't happy and you're going to see them out and about, and you just want everyone to be happy. You want your employees to be happy and customers to be happy. And that's probably one of the things I would concern myself with the most. During COVID, I think just survival.
How do you feel about the economy, about business opportunities, and about what's happening in New Brunswick as it relates to economic development and potential?
Most people are maintaining their jobs and their positions, and every employer's fighting to stay open and trying to make it work. And I think it's going to take another year or two before everything becomes the real new normal.
Tell me about organizations that may have helped you in your business.
And we've been with the Chamber from ever since I know I've ever worked here. And I know that was huge with Jim growing it. He went to all the events to talk to other people, grow the business, find new ideas. And through COVID, definitely it's been a saving grace. We're also part of, Jim was in tech for 12 to 14 years.
So tell me what tech is.
So tech is a business group where you have other business owners, and there's a leader of the group that's mentor, so he's your one-on-one.
In business, some people say that your accountant or your lawyer, your banker, those people are part of your team. How do you feel about that?
Not so much, I don't think, on the lawyer side. We've actually done very well or not have to worry too much. But I know bankers and accountants were huge for him as he grew it.
What's the best advice you've ever received as a business owner?
So I would say probably that no one's going to believe in it as much as you. The owners believe in the business because it's my father's legacy. It's the legacy I hope I leave to my children and hope that it carries on to theirs.
As a second generation business owner, if you were going to give advice to someone who was looking to buy or take over a family business, what advice would you give them?
What are your dynamics as a family before it? And is it set up the way you would want? And maybe to talk about that before you get into it.
Mentorship is really important in a business. Have you had a mentor in this business?
Jim's my father. If I ran someone else's business, he would still be my phone call.
You've had some accolades in the industry. Tell me about those.
Jim won the Business Person of the Year through Business Through Excellence Awards. We've won Small Business of the Year through Excellence Awards. We actually sponsor the Business Excellence Awards. We've been voted #1 through the Daily Gleaner for used car dealerships. I believe it was for over 14 years in a row. And with Kawasaki, we've been a Kawasaki dealer for just a little over 3 years, and last year we were #1 in Canada.
What are your goals for the next year, the next 3 years or 5 years?
Right now, the next year is probably my hardest thought because the goal, I think you're still survival. 3 and 5 years out, I want to get into some new markets. We're bringing an EV station here in the next 2 months. I want to get into that EV used car game. I don't plan on declining. I only plan on going one way.
Welcome back to Business Insight Fredericton. I'm Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, your host. In this episode, we're talking to second-generation businesses, and next up is John Jardine from Jardine Auctioneers.
Ladies and gentlemen, how much on this one here? It's going to be what? 50. It's going to be 50, 50, 50. It's going to be 50,000.
Tell me a bit about the history of the business. How did it get started?
Let me see. Dad found his way to Ottawa, Ontario, and I chased him. And Dad made a move from Ottawa and came back to Fredericton, and he wanted to open up here. And I was already running an auction as a general manager in Ottawa. He said, let's be partners. And I said, all right, let's go.
So tell me about the products that you have here. Tell me about what happens in your business.
It could be anything, Krista. It's like behind you, four-wheelers to cars to heavy equipment to miscellaneous.
In order to become an auctioneer, what's the background for that? What's your background?
So again, I was in Ottawa and I decided to attend auction school. So I went to High Point, North Carolina, but they teach you how to become an auctioneer. You don't leave auction school as an auctioneer. Over the years, that's all I did. Within 2 years, I had a good handle on it.
So tell me a little bit about the business itself. How many employees work here and what is the range of the work that they do?
So we have 25 that work here. So I've got an automotive manager, I've got an equipment manager that look after those aspects of what we sell. I've got miscellaneous and industrial coordinators. I've got a repossession coordinator, I've got a fleet coordinator, I've got a ownership and title transfer coordinator. We have data entry clerks, reception. She also looks after our social media, answering questions, replying to user ratings and so on. My father and I, we made a pact, and we put aside a stimulus saying we are not going to lay anybody off. Okay, we're going to ride through this. We had some successful years, and it's because of the employees.
You search online, you search in newspapers, you reach out to clients. How do you get the product in the door?
We enter into a lot of long-term relationships. We have one with the province of New Brunswick and MB Power. Because of those two huge core pieces of our business, it gives us the ability to reach out to smaller factions like St. John Energy, same with the municipalities we deal with, which gives us the ability to attract the smaller municipalities.
So when a client has a piece of equipment or an auto or something in the auction, how does it work for them? You sell it, how does that work?
Send me an email of what you have, and then we take over. I send my transport company to go get it. I have my professional report writers that will take off the decals, take the identifiers off, make these as clean as possible, full disclosure of what we know, what we see, put it online with beautiful pictures, invite the right crowd, take care of everything, collect the payment, transfer it out of their name, just make it as easy as possible.
Who would be your competition, and do you worry about competition?
Here in the Fredericton market, there is no other auction like ours. Moncton, there are two, and they are competition. And I welcome competition. I think competition's healthy.
What made you decide to get into the family business? It's a big step to go into business with family. What made you decide that you felt you could do it?
I trust my business partner. You know, the sense of satisfaction of keeping something going that somebody else developed and opened.
So this business has been running for well over 20 years, successfully. What do you attribute the longevity of the business?
Having the right people in the right roles and that love what they do it's number one.
How did you know that this business was right for you?
I woke up every morning, could hardly wait to go to work. I truly enjoy what I do.
Do you think it's tough being in a family business, working with your family?
Yes. Family, I feel, are very comfortable telling you exactly how they feel. If you're dealing with another business partner that, you know, you just bought in together, I think sometimes you'll find that they're careful. You can't do that with a family-run business. At least ours. We can have her out. Love each other before and love each other after.
So what do you think are the biggest challenges of being an entrepreneur?
Oh, knowing when to take a risk, maybe, would be number one, because you have to. You can't be vanilla. You need a little rocky road.
So have you ever taken a risk that did not pay off?
Yes, and great lessons were learned that have yet to be repeated.
What was the biggest risk that you've taken that turned out great?
I'm going to say when we found out that the government of Canada and their fleet was up for rebid. So we found out that independents, I had to have locations across the country. So I picked up the phone and found a colleague that I knew in Ottawa who knew colleagues in Quebec and other parts of Ontario, and then we reached out to another gentleman in Alberta who had colleagues in British Columbia and Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and we collectively sat down and drew up a document, and we got her. We enjoyed that for 12 years.
That probably was something that allowed your business to grow at that time.
It was a blessing.
But it was a big risk.
It was a huge risk. Huge risk.
So what did you learn from it?
That you can do whatever you want in business. Your address, your postal code doesn't matter.
What about professionals? Would you consider your accounting firm, your banker, your lawyer, would you consider them to be more or less part of your team as well?
We have the best accounting firm, we have the best lawyers, we get the best advice that's available to us.
What would you say is the most difficult thing that you've experienced as a business owner?
Well, this last year has been the most difficult, I must say. You know, we're worried about our physical health, but I also worry about, you know, everybody's mental health.
Are there issues that you face in this industry that you would say would be unique challenges in this industry?
The biggest one, I guess, that has come up is privacy, and we've gone to great lengths to make sure that any information that crosses our desks is very, very secure.
What would you say, John, is the best advice that you've ever been given as an entrepreneur?
Richard Branson, he's got the best one. And he says the most important person that walks through your door is your staff. Treat them the best, and the people that follow, your customers, will be treated A1.
If you were going to give advice to somebody who was looking to start a business or buy a business or get into a family business, what advice would you give them?
You have to have a passion for what you do, and you need to take risk.
What goals have you set in this business for the next year or the next 3 years or the next 5 years?
I want to expand our service outside of the greater Fredericton area. We have the ability to sell that online. That's 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year.
Welcome back to Business Insight Fredericton. I'm Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. Today we're talking to businesses that are second generation businesses. And next up we have Chris Brown from ServiceMaster.
We're in the cleaning and restoration industry. So one side of my business is restoration, where we're cleaning up after fires and floods and water damages and smoke damages. And the other side of our business contributes to the janitorial side of our cleaning, which is commercial. Mostly commercial institutions.
How did your business get started?
The business got started in 1979. Richard Greenwell purchased a truck mount from Basil Hawkins from Hawkins Equipment. And so my dad hooked up with them in 1980. They became partners. And then I think a couple years later I became their first employee. We were approached in 1987 to buy ServiceMaster. And in 1988, I think they closed the deal.
So today, 2021, how many employees do you have?
We have between 90 and 95 staff.
So Chris, who is your main clientele?
Our main clientele would be residential and commercial building owners. So on the commercial side, obviously in the janitorial, and on the residential side, probably 70% of our business comes through insurance companies.
How do you get the message out? How do you find these business clients or these home clients?
Networking. Some of the opportunities are obviously provided by the franchise. I've got 32 yellow trucks on the road.
That's a good advertisement in itself.
It's really, you're only as good as your last job in this business sometimes, and stand behind your work and do what you're supposed to do.
Tell me about your social media presence.
We're on Facebook. I use a company called TRL Solutions, Jody Peterson. Our home office provides us landing pages and websites and all that stuff that we commit to updating.
So tell me how COVID has impacted your business.
I think when it first hit, we were scared, obviously. Everybody was in panic mode and all that stuff. So it's probably made us more efficient, because there's not as many trips. It's added a lot of stress to my staff. We were involved in the cleanup in Edmonton for about a month. So once we got the protocols under place, which the franchise provided and we've come up with, and you guys were a blessing, sending out your information. So all those 16 come back, we've added more.
I would think that yours would be an industry that would actually have some opportunity, because being clean, being sterile, being prepared, and having surface cleans and all those things are truly more important than ever during COVID.
It was an opportunity. And ironically enough, we had 4 people certified in infection control in 2018. We're a little bit ahead of the curve. And our inventory department provides rubber gloves. We have all kinds of hand sanitizers that we've always sold as a side outside of ServiceMaster. It has led to lots of opportunity, but it is tough on the staff.
You mentioned that you've done some work in terms of COVID. Tell me about that.
There was an incident in Edmonton where there was an outbreak. The franchise owner, Nick Mann, called me up, says we need some help. My staff's running out of gas. Can you provide anything? Sent 6 up. We spent 3.5 weeks up there. In those 6 weeks, we were emptying bedpans because there was a staffing shortage. Like, we were doing everything more than just what we're there for. We've developed a great relationship with the public health at that time. We're doing a lot of post-contamination, so where people are actually affected, we'll go in where everybody's not comfortable going in, suiting up, and getting them out there.
How do you deal with competition, or do you feel you have any?
I pay attention to my competition, but I don't focus on them. I'm fair with them, I'm open with them, but it's competition for a reason.
You're a long-established business. What do you attribute the longevity of the business?
Integrity, probably being involved in the community is the biggest thing. I've done lots of volunteering. I spent 8 or 9 years, probably co-chair in the diabetes walk. Spent the last 10 years in baseball. Met tons of contacts. Sponsored hockey teams, sponsored curling teams.
Given that it's a family business, are there other siblings? Are there cousins? Are there uncles, aunts? Who else is involved that's in the family?
Oh, I've got a great uncle, Walter Brown, former deputy mayor, that's been involved probably for the last 10 or 12 years. He comes in and has certainly continued to improve our policies and procedures. There's not a lot of family. My dad and I, my sons worked the last couple years with us in the summer, you know, hoping for a 3rd generation at some point.
Do you find any aspects of being involved in a family business tough?
My dad and I have a great relationship. We fight like brother and sister sometimes. We don't agree on everything, but we support each other, and it's been, I can't think of any instances that I can remember that we've had an issue that wasn't resolved. And I've always lived with the motto that my dad said, like, treat people the way you want to be treated. So it seemed to work so far.
As a business owner, what is the most difficult thing you've experienced?
It's finding the right people. I've probably got one of the best teams we've ever put together right now, presently.
How do you feel about the economy and opportunities here in New Brunswick? What do you think is coming down the pipe for us in terms of development and the economy?
The opportunities in New Brunswick are endless. It's the best place in the world to live. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's safe, it's clean, the people you can trust, you can do work on a handshake.
Chris, we all get lots of advice in our professional careers. What's the best advice you've been given?
Normally it comes from my father. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you don't have any integrity, you have nothing.
Have you had a mentor in your career? I know you've mentioned your dad, so probably he's a mentor, but what about external to the relationship you and your dad had? Have you had other mentors?
I think everybody I talk to I'm going to learn from is my mentor. But like I say, my biggest mentor would, no doubt, is my dad.
If you were talking to a young person who was interested in getting involved in their own family's business, interested in working with their parent or their parents or another aspect of their family, what advice would you give them?
Communicate. Throw it all on the line. Stuff you don't like, tell them. Stuff you do like, tell them. You know, and work together.
So 1979, 2 guys in a truck. Fast forward to 2021, 100 guys or 100 people and over 40 vehicles. What's next?
I try and make today better than yesterday. And that's it.
I think that a goal of making every day just a little bit better than the day before is a very good one. We're always looking for great companies with a unique story to feature on the show. If you have suggestions, please get in touch with us.